So last week at the movies, I went and saw Upgrade, a brand new film all about a man who has a computer AI program implanted into his body, and it was all about those questions of what is the man, what is the machine, where is the divide between the two of them. And if you follow us on Twitch, over at twitch.tv/Professor Thorgi, you know we have been playing a ton of Detroit Become Human, which is all about androids struggling to gain equal rights with humans, and it raises all these questions about, well, what exactly is an android? Is it thinking? Is it alive like a human being? And if you are a fan of HBO, then you have probably been watching Westworld Season 2, which I don't need to tell you what that's about because you can probably sense that there's a theme in everything that I've been talking about. So today on Thorgi's Picks, the show every single week on this channel where I come in here and just give you a quick recommendation for a comic book and then provide you with a link of where you can go to check that comic out, I'm of course going to be talking about Spider-Man. I'm kidding, we are actually following a theme. There was actually a point to that whole build-up. Today, the book that I am recommending to you is Descender. It is a book from Jeff Lemire that he has been doing over at Image Comics for the past couple of years. And if you have watched this channel for a while, then you have heard me talk about Jeff Lemire. That is a guy with way more hits than misses for me, and even his misses are still pretty darn good. And Descender might very well, in my personal opinion, be the best thing that he's ever written. I am always blown away by this book every single time that I pick it up, and that is not an exaggeration because I don't read the single issues of Descender, I trade wait on it. In fact, I don't just trade wait, I wait until January every single year when I am cramming to build my top 100 best comics of the previous year list that we do on this channel. So I only read Descender once a year, and I cram an entire year's worth of books into that one sitting, and I always come away going, oh my god, that was something. It is an experience. It is like some giant spiritual journey that I take every single year in January when I sit down and just read a year's worth of Descender, because holy cow, that is one of those books where they know exactly how to mess with you in every way imaginable. Do you want to have your mind blown by just really creative, imaginative science fiction? That book is going to provide you with that beyond your wildest imagination. Do you want to see characters who you have known and loved from the previous time that you read this book just get completely messed up? It's going to happen. Do you want to see them form new bonds with each other and come across new interactions with other wild, crazy characters? That's going to happen in this book. Okay, let me go ahead and actually tell you what this book is about though. Descender is set in the future, and it is the future. It's everything that you can imagine the future being. We're living out in space. We are working together with alien races. We have android servants that do all of our work for us. It's every single ABC of sci-fi futures. However, one day, all of a sudden, these giant planet-sized androids just appear and wreck this space colony. Just wipe them all out. It is one of the biggest devastating events in human history because nobody even knows what these androids are. They just appeared. How the heck does something the size of a freaking planet just appear? And then it cuts ahead a couple years later when everybody is still recovering from this, including this one scientist who was kind of famous for being the guy who created some of the best androids out there. And all of a sudden, they start detecting the same energy signature that they detected from those androids. But when they track it down, it's coming from this abandoned space station. No one is living there anymore except for one tiny android boy. It's this android that was created for the sole purpose of being a companion to another boy. It was created just to be friends with this other young boy who lived on that space station, but then he went to sleep and he hasn't woken up for years, and now suddenly he has woken up, and for some crazy unexplained reason, the energy signals they are getting from him are the exact same ones that came from the giant killer androids. That's a hell of a pitch. So yes, there is the big mystery of why do the giant planet-sized killer androids have the same energy signal as this tiny little adorable robot boy? How are they connected? So that's the big question of this entire series, and a lot of people want the answers to that because there are different groups that then start pairing up to hunt down this little tiny robot boy, and it's one of those books where you get to know all these different groups And as you see them all slowly moving towards each other, as they each get a little bit closer to interacting with each other, oh my goodness, the tension just keeps building and building and building. That is one of the best things about this book, is when you suddenly start seeing these groups start to interact with each other. But also, just the twist that it will take with these characters. Like I mentioned, the android was created to be the companion to this young boy who lived on the space station. And now years have passed by. And I don't know why, but I didn't even think we were going to address what happened to the young little boy. I figured he probably died in the giant android attack. Not to spoil anything here, but eventually you do find out what happened to that young boy who this android was made to be the friend of. And when you meet him, it is nothing like what I was expecting. I was completely blown away by who this young boy turned out to be, what he grew up into. And each of these characters are really deep and really likable, and I will admit, I wasn't really that invested in each of these characters when I first started reading about them, but they put out one trade that was pretty much nothing but a collection of single issues that spotlighted the history of each of these characters. Like, there was an entire story arc in here that did nothing but just talk about the past of each of these individual characters. And after I was finished reading that, yeah, the story picked up pretty much exactly where it had left off right before that collection of origin story books began. But man, it was like reading a completely different book from that point. And as I mentioned, there are some giant, mind-blowing sci-fi concepts in this book. I already talked about the androids the size of planets that wiped out an entire space colony and the mystery behind them and how they may be older than the universe itself, because who the heck even knows what these things are. Yeah, that's really darn good. But it doesn't just stop there. It keeps going. There is one moment in which they find an entire colony of nothing but androids. Like androids that have all just escaped their human masters. Holy cow, that is one of the best locations in this entire series. I loved every single second that they were in that location, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that this book is illustrated by Dustin Nguyen, who many of you guys probably know from that Little Gotham series that they did. Yeah, you remember that fun all ages series that they did over at DC a while back that was just quirky adventures of the Batman family all themed around holidays? Remember how gorgeous that looked? Remember how even though it was an all ages book, it was one of the best looking titles that any company was putting out there? It's that guy doing mind-bogglingly huge sci-fi concepts, and he nails it every single page. So yes, I love this book. I am constantly blown away by this series. It's one of my favorite titles from Image Comics, which is one of my favorite publishers out there. It's one of my favorite books from Jeff Lemire, which is one of my favorite writers out there. I'm probably overhyping the crap out of this, and you're all gonna be very disappointed by it, but I don't care because it's that freaking good. I honestly don't know what else to say about this title without getting into actual like story beats, and then I would actually be spoiling this book for you, and I don't want to do that. I kind of feel bad that I even told you about the robot planet, because that's one of those huge surprises when you actually get to that point. So that's as far as I'm going in this. I would love to keep talking about this. I would love to keep talking about how they were able to take a very small minor character I didn't care about at all and give them kind of a send-off that I was like, oh my gosh, no, I suddenly care about this guy. That's magic when someone can make that happen. But now I'm getting real freaking close to spoiling stuff that I don't want to spoil. So forgive me for rambling, but this is pure passion coming out about this book. I really want y'all to check this out. If you enjoy science fiction, if you enjoy space, if you enjoy anything that has to do with questioning what is man, what is machine, can computers have a soul, can they have a spirit, that kind of stuff, this is a book you have to read. It is one of the best examples of that type of story that I have ever read. So yes, I'm going to put a link to where you can buy this book, either digitally or physically on Amazon, in the description down below. And if you go through that link and buy that book on Amazon, or even if you don't buy that book but you buy anything else on Amazon, as long as you start by going through that link, we get a small cut of the profits. If you have read this book and you want to tell me what you thought about, let me know that in the comments down below. And if you have enjoyed it, then spread the word on this to your friends, because gosh darn it, more people need to read Descender. But thank you guys for tuning in. You can always contact me on Twitter, Twitch, and Tumblr at Professor Thorgi. And if you like these episodes, we do them every single week, as well as covering everything else from the world of geekery. So make sure that you click on that subscribe button. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Come back next time. Bye.